Ola Anova, what's casting? You got, or if you got any question? We can hear you. Okay, all right. I'm going to talk about this casting. So you use casting when you want to change a data type to another data type, right? For instance, I want to convert this into an integer. So that's what it's saying. This is 1. I want to convert it into an integer. Because it's already an integer, it's not going to change at all. It's going to remain the same thing. So you use this in programming when you go one data type and you want to convert it to another data type. So for instance, if you want to convert anything to an integer, you use int, right? And anything, the thing that you put in a bracket will be converted to integer. So, but ensure that it's something that can be converted, right? Because, for instance, I cannot convert, let's say, A, B, C, D to an integer, right? So let's say I run this, right? So you can see it's actually showing me that this is not possible. You cannot convert that, but you can convert, let's say, 20 into an integer, even though it's in a string. Anything that you put in a code is a string, actually, even though it's got numbers inside. But the fact that you put them in a string in this particular speech mark, it becomes a string, okay? Let's run this one, and this will be converted to 20, and this will be converted to 2. As you can see, it's not like rounding down or something like it's just kind of removing the later part, isn't it? So, and yeah, you can see that is that. So, and let's say this is also, let's quickly do something and to just see that 2.7.5. Let's see what that will give to us. So as you can see, it basically just removing the later part actually. So any question on this one? So that is how to convert numbers. So, and if you go to the float, it's the same thing as numbers as well, or integer. So it just kind of convert that particular value that you put in your brackets into float for you. Like we know that float is a decimal number actually. So, and the same way, you cannot convert a string that's not, you are not able to, for instance, you cannot say D like that, you want to convert into a float. That's not possible. It should be something that is related to a number. It's only number that you can do that for. So let's say like that now. So let's see what that gives to us. So can you see it's still leaving that? So where? So let's see if we change this one to say, let this be an integer. So as you can see, it's not able to convert that one actually because it's got all those numbers. So, but let us remove this one and say that one. So, but if you do that, because it's a string, right? So, but if you remove this and you make it a number, so, and you run it, then I think it's able to convert it because that is a float in itself, right? So it converts it to 3, right? As you can see. So, and you can convert a float to an integer. You can convert an integer back to a float. But you can, let's say, if it's a number and you put it in a string like so, then you are able to convert it to an integer actually. So, okay. All right. So,
I have a question.
Okay, please.
Like say, wait, 2 questions actually. Firstly, you say you have a float. You said you can't convert a string of a float into an integer.
Okay. By string of a float, you are talking something like that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So can you or can you not?
You cannot actually, right?
Okay. And second of all, say you had that number, would it round up to 4 or would it just go to 3 because it says 3 point?
Okay, so if you have like that, right? So this will not round up, you will only take 3, right? So it's not rounding down or rounding up, you're just taking the first letter. Yeah.
Oh, it goes to the one before the decimal point.
Exactly, just one. Yeah. So if you want to round up or round down, there's another function for that. I think we still get to that anyway. Right?
Okay, thank you.
No worries there. By the way, that is a good question, actually. Yeah. So now let's go to string. Now you can actually convert a lot of things into a string because you just need to put them in quotes, isn't it? So yeah, that's that. So you can run that one. So even if this is in a quote and you can convert a lot of things into string, that becomes a string and it still remains 3.0, and that's that. So there are a lot of things that you can do with string actually. So, okay. All right. So that is that. Let's go to string. Then I'll give you an assignment and we go. Yes, please.
Please, I have a question on the string on the string. Okay. You said that the string can be used for different purposes. Can you turn the string into a float?
Yes, the answer is you can turn a string into a float, but it has to be a string that contains a float inside, right? So what am I saying? For instance, this is a string, right? And I cannot say, oh, I'm converting this into a float, okay? Because it cannot be converted anyway, right? How can you convert this name into a float? It's not possible, right? So this is going to give you an error. But if you say 3 point this, like that, inside that is a float, right? This is a float in itself. So, sorry.
Mr. Deji.
So this is a float, Mr. and Deji. You can, yes, please.
I couldn't hear what you were saying. I was in a loud place.
Okay, all right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So you can convert this one because inside that string is a float, right? Let's go through that. Yeah. So you can do that. Yeah. Can you see it's got the float here, right? So, but if you do something like that, so inside the string now, inside your speech mark, right, it's not a float again. So this will give you an error, right? So as you can see, you can convert a string to a float, but it has to be a string that contains a float. Do you get it now? The same thing applies to integer as well. You can convert an integer that's got a number. No, you can convert a string, right, that's got number inside into an integer. So if it's contain character, other characters, you cannot convert them. Is that understood now?
Yes, thank you, sir.
No worries. Okay. All right, cool. So let's move to a string. I like
another question.
Okay, please, yeah.
Please, can you send where you got all these Python numbers out? I lost it.
The Python number, what do you mean?
Yeah, where, how did you get to this site?
Okay, this website. Okay. All right. Yeah. If you want to go to the website, I will send this to you now. But if you go to Google, right, like that, just say W3 schools in Google, okay? Like that. So it will bring this for you, W3 school. Or you just say w3school.com, okay? So whatever you do, you get here. If you say w3schools.com, it takes you here, right? And then you can either say Python here, tutorial, that takes you to where we are going, or you scroll down, right? And you go to learn Python, right? And that takes you to this particular page, right? So right now, we are on strings, no problem. Okay. So I'm going to send this link to everyone as well so that you can follow up on that. Yeah, I think, thank you, Adebisi. Adebisi already sent something. Thank you. So, okay. All right. So now let's go to string. Guys, string is so popular and common in all programming languages. And to be honest, and most of us also, we have a lot of strings. Our names are strings, right? This particular data type is so important that you need to know how to use them. You need to know what they are for. You need to know how to manipulate them. In the next few classes, we're going to talk about how we can manipulate this string, how you can get something out, how you can split them, how you can modify them. That's what we're going to be talking about even tomorrow and also next week. There are a lot of things that you can do with a string, right? Because string is so popular. On your keyboard, right, you know there are a lot of strings in there. Yeah. So, and like this website is full of strings, right? As you can see, anything that you write here, they're all strings. So that's why it is very important that we can dedicate time to look at strings, what they are for, how you use them in programming, right? Because it's going to be very important for us. Right, now we're looking at string now. So the major in programming, there's one particular string that's so common is hello world. Hello world. So now you can print any string by saying print that particular string. An assignment that I'm going to give to you when you go into your rooms, all right, into your breakout room, that you print your name, right? So you're going to go in there, print your name, and let it go out, okay? So, and now you're going to assign a variable to your name. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. So right now, my name is Deji, okay? Or let me just say, okay. So now you say A is equal to Mr. Deji, okay? And I click on run. So, and it's going to print A for me. But we are not going to see A now. We are going to see what A is stored inside.
Deji.
Yes, please.
So you're saying that, you know, it's only A you can use different letters.
Of course, you can use different letters. You can use any letters that you want, that you fancy.
From A to Z.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say it's Y now. So, but I think Joshua also mentioned this in the video that you cannot do this. You cannot say Y is equal to Mr. Deji and you say print A, right? It has to be the same thing that you store. And in one of the videos that we had, right, about variables, if you don't know about that, I think you need to go in there. Actually, we talk about what variables is, what variables names are. So what's the concept of variables? If you missed that, you should go into this particular playlist to look at that, how we use variables. So, and where is the, 1 minute? Okay, yeah. So your variables are anything that you use to store something. I think, okay, quickly, let me ask one question. Who can actually define a variable for me? What is a variable, right? If you want to raise your hand or if you want to shout it out, what is a variable? Okay, Sarah, you got your hands up. Do you want to answer that or praise any one of you?
I had a question though.
Okay. What's your question, Sarah?
If we can use any letter, would it still run though?
You will run. All right, we're going to see that right now. Okay, yeah, you would run. Yeah. Okay, let's move to praise. Do you want to answer the variable question?
Yes.
Okay.
So a variable is used to store your code.
Thank you. Variable is used to store a data. Okay, that's what I would say. Anyway, Joshua. Thank you so much, praise, for that. Joshua D. Okay.
Variables are containers for storing data values.
Thank you, Joshua. Variables are containers for storing data values. Thank you so much. That's what variable is. No matter what you identify as a variable, it can be A, B, C, or D, or anything. You use them to store something. And what you use to store is data. You use them to store data. For instance, now, this is my data. Mr. Deji is my data, and it's a string. And Y is my variable, right? So I am using this to store data. So then I'm actually using this statement to print it out. So Tara was asking if I use a different different character, will it work? Yes. The answer is yes. But you need to be consistent. If you store it in a Y, then you need to print Y. You can't store in a B and expect to print a C. You need to be consistent, okay? So now your first assignment, right, is this one, okay? So can someone, okay, quick question. How do you do comments in Python? Comments in Python? Okay. Can I call, okay, you guys have been talking. Let me ask another person. Can another person, how do you do comment in Python? What's the symbol? Okay, Solomon. Sorry, Joshua and Tara.
Hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag. So I know you guys already know it. I don't want to call you guys, so that's why. Yeah. So it's hashtag, okay? And what is the purpose of comment and how does it work? If you put comments in the code, what is the purpose, right? Joshua?
Sorry, what did you say?
So, okay, I think the question is like, what is the purpose of comment? Ananias, is that, okay.
It stopped the code.
Oh, not really, not really. Yeah, it's maybe you know what you are talking about. Yes,
You said
I think yes.
You said it. Sorry, can you please say what you said again?
Okay. Ananias is a bit close actually. So, the question is, what is the purpose of a comment, right? And he said is to stop the code.
Explain what you are doing.
Yeah, that is one purpose, to explain. Joshua A said to explain. And what happens if you put a comment? I think that's what Ananias is trying to tell us. If I put a comment here, if I make this one to become a comment, what happens?
There will be an error.
Say I do this right. I do everything like that. What will happen?
There'll be an error.
Not really, not really. Maybe Solomon is saying something. We can't hear you. Okay. All right. So if you comment a particular line, you are telling the computer to ignore that line, right? You are telling the computer to say, don't consider this line. This line is irrelevant for you. It's only for me, right? Yeah. The computer will not do anything, right? Yeah, of course. Yeah, Tofumi is right. You can also use that particular comment to explain the code better to other people. Yeah. So Anajibola is right. Okay, you explain it, you use it to explain. But technically, you are telling the computer, ignore, right? Ignore, don't consider this line. So you can use that line because it's no longer a code again. It's used to explain to people, right? So one, right now, I want to explain to you guys what you need to do, right, in your breakout room, okay? So I want you to assign a variable to your name. And then print it. So that's what you need to do in your breakout room. Everyone, okay? You assign a variable, whatever you call the variable, right? You assign your name into it as I've done, and then you print that variable out, okay? So that is one thing that we need to do. Then also—
How do you print the variable out?
So that is the exercise. So that is the exercise. I'll come back to that, Joshua, okay? So, okay. And yeah, okay, all right, cool. So the second thing that I want you to do also, right? So that's the first assignment. The second assignment is assign a variable to your, let me see. Okay, to the name of your school. and print it. Okay. So, okay. Let's say what I'm expecting you to do right now is to say D is equal to name and also and the address as well and location of your school. Okay. So this is what I'm expecting you to do. You use the 3 string, okay? And you say name of my school is, let's say, what's it? Holy Trinity Grammar School. So, and the, okay, let's just say, and it is London. And you finish that. Then you now print D, okay? So that is what Joshua A, can you take off your camera? Thank you. Okay. Oh, also, okay, sorry if not Joshua. Okay, all right, this is what I'm expecting you to do. I would just want to be sure that you know how to use these 2 string ways, right? So one is 3 single dots, single space mark, and another one is double one as well. And as you guys know, you can as well, okay. Okay, all right, let me just give you that assignment anyway. So if I run this, so let's see what is going to come out. Yeah, as you can see, the names, it's kind of like that, right? So this is how to do this. If you have a long string and you don't want to break it down into plus, 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 you use this 3 quotes, right? And you can print them out. So that is the assignment that you're going to do in your breakout room. Any question? Any question? Okay. All right, cool. So if you want to be leaders in your room, right, can you raise your hand up, please? Okay. Okay. Let me stop sharing 1 minute.